Greetings to my team of 144 and all Starseeds, Lightworkers, and Wayshowers. Today is 3/13/2019, a 333 day, a 3 and a 33. More 73 and 37 codes coming through. Also 448, 448, which I interpreted as the 144 are going to break the time loop for all of humanity. The time loop, like the figure 8, is the cycle of reincarnation, the cycle of suffering, the prison of time, the sine wave. Also, the separation programming is ending. Many plasma waves, activations happening today. Now a lot of people were feeling the heat, the fire. I was feeling it today. My face was red. Feeling these intense waves coming from the center of the galaxy, the center of you, the center of ourselves, the great mystery. Now there were also some messages coming through about twin flames. The energy that's coming through from the naked lotus. We have come through the portal was a message from today. An awakening has occurred. There were also spikes in the Schumann resonance today. I'm sure many of you noticed that Facebook and Instagram were crashing around the world. This is another sign of these waves, these plasma waves, causing havoc amongst electrical currents, electrical contraptions. Also, yesterday at sunset, I was hanging out at the beach with a flock of seagulls. They were cracking me up. It wasn't actually the band, the flock of seagulls. These were literally seagulls, the birds. And they were stealing fish from this duck. It was like a golden-eyed duck or something like that. Some ducks dive under the water. They can swim under the water and catch fish. They're diver fish, ducks. And this particular one, as it would dive down, as it would come up, the seagulls would fly down and steal it from him right as he was coming up from the water. And they would fly off with the fish. So he was doing all the work, and the seagulls, they are a mischievous bunch sometimes. And as the sun was setting, I took some photos of the sun. I was getting photos of the seagulls and the ducks, and I was looking through some of the images today, and there was one image that was had two suns. It was like a sun and possibly a planet. And I was looking at the sunset clearly with my eyes, and I did not see this planet or second sun. It could have been Nibiru, which was coming through, which I believe is a higher dimensional planet or sun or ship. You know, what we call the mothership. So I'll put that picture here in this video, and I examined it very closely. I've been doing photography for 30 years. You can check out some of my photos at natureloverphotographer.com. You know, I've been published in Birds and Blooms, different magazines, calendars, and I know it was not a, you know, sometimes there's artifacts on the image called solar flares. But this, you could clearly see that this was some kind of object or some kind of sun. So I'd like to share a couple messages. Lisa Transcendence Brown posted today that mega blasts of every frequency underway right now. Buckle up, baby, and let completely go. That was about an hour ago. And then she also posted, inside and outside, overstimulation and hyperexcited cellular activity has begun. These work with various nervous system upgrades, high electromagnetic and plasma energy photonics. These will short the human body out while supercharging the light body. The more light held, the more these are excited and awesome. The more carbon-based the form, the more these need to be honored. So your body can do important rewiring, reconfigurations, and be fully integrated while you rest, sleep, surrender, honor, and allow. For those enjoying, keep on keeping on. Varying frequency bandwidths, densities will experience these, however, is most appropriate and important for whatever phase each person is in. If your physical light body reality calls for you to shift, then shift and tune accordingly. Cosmic weather increases too. Mega love, we have liftoff. So many people are feeling these feeling of lifting off. Now, I also like to share this transmission from Steve Rother from ESPAVO.com. Now, ESPAVO is a word from Mu or Lemuria. It was a greeting. It was when people greeted each other or when they parted ways. And it's been translated meaning, thank you for taking your power. So this is an ancient greeting. This is the time of power and glory. So the evolving human changes in DNA of the physical body. Greeting, dear ones. We join you this day as a collective, for we have a little story to tell you about events that are taking place on your planet. You are reaching beautiful levels of evolution. The Earth herself is changing as well. You have seen so much beauty here. Let us first tell you that you are becoming new humans, and that is incredibly exciting. Last time we talked about the multidimensional you and how you have hidden some of your perfection in 11 different experiences of your life, making different choices, and each one selecting different routes. Over here, when you make a decision, that is equally weighted. Although you may go in this direction in one dimension, in another you take that other choice. So really nothing is lost to your experience as a spirit pretending to be human. Changes in DNA of the physical body. What we are talking about today is your own physical being, for it is starting to change as well. It starts on the very small level, the level of your DNA, which has many more strands than you have been aware of. There are a total of 12 strands with a very weak magnetic field that basically outlines the other strands. What is happening is that these strands are starting to be reactivated. As this happens, and as the dimensional walls between your other dimensions start to thin, the physical body starts to change. Now it has been quite some time that we've been telling you about the emotions bleeding over from other of your lifetimes into another. Sometimes you may suddenly find yourself feeling very happy, sad, or even depressed for seemingly no reason, only to find out that you are tapping into one of the experiences that is happening in another dimension that you never had to deal with before. Well, now you are starting to receive thoughts and feelings through those walls. Not only are the magnetic portions of the wave going through the wall, but now parts of the electrical portions are traveling through as well. Let us explain what that means. Thoughts passing through the dimensional walls. In the third dimension, you typically experience life as linear, one moment after the next. In the fourth dimension, you have learned that time is actually circular. Now that you are in the fifth dimension, you are finding it is actually a spiral, which is a combination of moving forward through both time and space. Yet it is always repeating itself over and over again, allowing for perfection. With these changes, you are starting to think differently because of being grounded firmly in the fifth dimension. Although all of humanity has stepped into this energy, there are many still grasping onto the old third-dimensional ideas. That explains why there is so much incredible separation taking place on your planet right now. So what are the thoughts that you are starting to become aware of through the dimensional walls? How do you deal with that? Well, we tell you in some ways it means you are going to get new ideas. In other ways you will stop linear thinking because that is your process as well. You have always had one thought after another, leading to another and so forth. It can branch out in different ways, of course, but you only take one path at a time. What if it were possible to start experiencing non-linear thinking? You are now starting to experience the capabilities that we have here at home. Just like with time, we are in the now every moment. Everything is accessible no matter which way we point. You sometimes talk about time travel on your planet, and we have no problem with that. We always pick up whatever we want at any time that we want. Non-linear thinking, taking shortcuts in the thought process. What if you could do the same with your thoughts? Well, that is beginning to happen with all of humanity. The human animal is starting to evolve very quickly in order to carry more light. You are eventually moving into light body, which you have done before. You have done it in the days of Lemuria as the Anasazi and the Mayans. Before you have done it in small segments of the earth, but this time it is going to be a rather large move. You are starting to move in these directions now, and one of the interim steps is to release the habit of linear thinking. What this will provide is shortcuts everywhere, although it will be very frustrating for your systems. Your math teachers want to know how you arrived at a solution, but what if you could just go right to the answer every time and not worry about all the steps that you had to take? That would be frustrating for the teachers and school administrators, but it could advance humanity quite rapidly. Basically, that is what lies ahead, learning how to stop thinking in a linear fashion. So what exercises can you do, and how can you work with this? How can you start to practice this right now? Well, it is actually non-linear thinking. Dear ones, much of what you consider sometimes to be intuition is truly channeling. When you get those answers very rapidly, you do not quite know where they came from. Most of the time on Earth, people do not trust an answer that is received in that way. They want to be able to go back and follow the rules of how you got there, when in reality it is simply a movement. We find it really interesting because many of the great discoveries on your planet were made from people who simply knew this was the truth. Then they go through their entire lives trying to figure out whatever was necessary to put one foot in front of the other, building a linear path and proving that truth. If they did not know it in the first place, they would not have discovered it. We are speaking of Copernicus, Fibonacci, Socrates, Einstein, and Tesla himself. They knew something first and then went about proving it. That sense of knowing is channeling and nonlinear thinking. After receiving this message, they would then have to figure out the linear path backwards in order to prove it. What if you were able to just take that shortcut? Would you not be able to speed things up rather rapidly on your planet? We tell you, dear ones, that is exactly what is ahead. All that is needed is to become aware of your thought processes to start with. You can always come up with a great idea, but when you do come up with it, go backwards to discover what led you to that idea. What were you thinking just before that, and even before that? Follow the path backwards so that you become aware of your linear thinking habits. That is the beginning of the process. Then pretty soon you will be able to make these jumps. Because you are human, you are not going to trust it. Very few people do in the beginning because it takes practice to start understanding that it is no longer necessary to go through all these paths. You can come up with the right answer every single time, and especially to the big ones, the big questions. Why? Because there are so many beings on the other side of the veil that want you to succeed. They are dropping these ideas into your form of consciousness. You can step out of linear thinking, you can interpret and trust them. You have the stream of consciousness that extends right above your heads. You tap in and grab one of these thoughts to bring it in. Are you responsible for all of these thoughts? No, some are what you would call negative thoughts. When you receive one, do not try to release or ignore it. Just say, oh, there is a negative thought. I think I will just let that one go by. But here's a really bright thought over here. So I am going to grab this one and discover it. Dear ones, choose your thoughts carefully. You are not responsible for what goes on in your head, but you are responsible for what stays there. Grasp those ideas and start dreaming, learning to channel and heart. Your entire reality will start changing very quickly because you will gain a new perspective, a new perception of everything around you. And the more you open to that perception, the more you will begin to see change. Change is ahead for every single one of you, dear ones. You have placed yourself here on this earth at exactly this moment for a reason. There is no one here by accident, no one here that is just taking up space. Yes, you are here on purpose. We love to see you work with that, and we can't wait to see what happens next. You have some very exciting times ahead on your planet. Although there are challenges, we are not worried because the best people are on the job. It is with the greatest honor that we reflect you in this way, helping you remember who you are in these times of change. You have already won the game, dear ones. We leave you with 3 little reminders to treat each other with respect. Nurture one another at every opportunity, for you are nurturing yourself. Do not forget to play well with together. ESPAVO, dear ones, the group. So thank you all for joining me. Thank you all for your support, your kind words, and thank you for sharing what you are all going through in the comments below the videos. You can join other Lightworkers on our website, primedisclosure.com/chat. You can just type in any username you want to use and click sign in, and you can join other Lightworkers. So thank you again. Much love, light, bliss, truth. I love you all.